Photoshop has a number of selection tools that can help us to select objects in our images that have similar colors or similar tones or defined edges around them. I'm going to start with the new Object Selection tool. I'll set the mode to rectangle, and I want to select these two pumpkins. When I click and drag out over them, however, I get a little bit of extra selection in between them. So Photoshop is thinking or believing, because of how it's been trained using artificial intelligence, that these are actually one object. Well, that's easy to solve. I can use the keyboard shortcut Command D to deselect, and then I can just drag over each one of these pumpkins individually. So I've dragged over one, and then I'll hold down the Shift key, and I'll drag over the other one, and it will select both of those objects. But I really want the pumpkin head here to be selected, so I'll use Command D on Mac, Control T on Windows to deselect that, and then just drag over the pumpkin head. It kind of shrink wraps down the selection to just his head. And from the bottom of the Layers panel, I'll just add a quick Hue Saturation Adjustment layer and just change the hue a little bit towards the left. All right, I'm going to change the mode for the Object Selection tool from rectangle to lasso, and now I can drag a loose lasso around the area that I want to select. I'll return to the background layer and then just drag around the scarecrow's pants here, again, quite loosely, but just to include all of the pants. And again, it shrink wraps down, but it's missed a few areas. So I'll hold down the Option key. That will allow me to subtract areas from the selection. So now I can get rid of that little patch there, and I can get rid of the straw. And it looks like that straw has gone away. A lot of times when I'm making selections, I'll just tap the Q key to show me the selection as a quick mask. This time it's showing me in a red overlay. So I'll just tap Q again because it was a little hard to see with red with the pants. I can change the color of the Quick Select tool by double clicking on it. So if it was helpful, I could change this, for example, to a blue, and that might help me see what's masked and what's not a little bit better. But for now, I'll turn that off, and then from the bottom of the Layers panel, I'll add another Hue Saturation Adjustment layer, and then just change the hue a little bit, maybe more towards pink. Of course, if I needed to, I could select the mask and then grab my paintbrush, and making sure, because it's actually got a little bit too much of the straw here, so I need to remove that. So I want to make sure that I'm painting with black and then just paint over that area to hide the effect of the adjustment layer. All right, we do have other tools that will help select based on color and tone. We have the Magic Wand tool, which works really well if you've got, say, like a blue sky that's almost similar in tone, so almost a solid color blue. But in this case, I would switch to the Quick Selection tool because it has a huge advantage over the Magic Wand in that it has edge detection built into it. So let's try to select the jacket. I'll click and drag over the colors that I want Photoshop to help me select. And every time I click on a color with that plus icon that's in the center of the tool, Photoshop is building a color table. So every time I click, it's going to add to the color table. Now, if it selects too much and I need to subtract an area, I hold down the Option key on the Mac or the Alt key on Windows, and I can subtract those values from that color table. So really, the more you click and drag over different areas, the more precise that color table will become. All right, with that, let's add our final Hue Saturation Adjustment layer, and I can change the hue here on his jacket, just like we did on the pants. And very quickly, if I hold down the Option key and I click on the eye icon for the background layer, we can see that I've changed the image from before to after. So as you can see, Photoshop has several tools which can help create selections. And even if they're not perfect with the first click, it's great to know that we can always go in and refine the layer masks as needed.